Welcome into Locked On Phillies. Today, we have a fun Philly Rob story. Rob Thomson had something interesting that someone tweeted out about him, and it got me wondering about a question. Who's really the face, the figurehead, if you will, of the Philadelphia Phillies free agent push in 2022 and into 2023? We'll discuss on today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is indeed Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and it's December 1st already. Can you believe it? This is the first full month without Phillies baseball because a month ago, the Philadelphia Phillies were very much still competing in the World Series. It feels like years ago at this point, but really, it's been less than a month since the Philadelphia Phillies were in the World Series, and man, so much has passed. And yet, so little information, right? We got the tidbits we talked about yesterday with John Morosi's appearance on MLB Network talking about Trey Turner and his preference being Philly and Philly being the favorite to land him. We also got Buster Olney's tweet about his interaction with a sports agent that was unnamed that said the Phillies will get one of the top shortstops, Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, Carlos Correa, or Trey Turner. So both good tidbits of information there that point positively towards the Philadelphia Phillies offseason, but talks have been kind of slow to this point. Haven't had a lot of news, haven't had a lot of information, just going on speculation and everything like that. But it seems like we're heating up a tiny little bit. And if you had any doubts that there were talks going on, well, there was a fun story that came out from Larry Schenk last night. If you're not familiar with Larry Schenk, long time public relations guy for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's awesome. The Baron, Larry Schenk. And he's good follow on Twitter. He tweeted this out yesterday. So yesterday evening, it really was. And he says, Rob Thomson, in a speech yesterday at the London, which is London, Ontario, Sports Association. Before I got here, I was in a Tim Horton's parking lot doing a Zoom call with a potential free agent bullpen pitcher we'd like to sign. When I'm done here, Zoom's at 2 and 4. Could you just imagine let's say Craig Kimbrell, and you're Craig Kimbrell and you're out there and all of a sudden you got a Zoom call and it's Rob Thomson in a Tim Hortons in Ontario saying, hey, how would you like to come pitch for the Philadelphia Phillies and be a part of the back end of our bullpen this next year, Craig? Like, that's so Rob Thomson. It's incredible. And he had Zooms at 2 and at 4. So he's talking to these guys. He's getting these guys on Zoom. Rob Thomson's conversations, I'm sure, are different than what Dave Dombrowski discusses with them, different than what John Middleton maybe discusses with them, that those are more the logistics of the contract, the culture of the organization, all that stuff. Rob Thompson's like, yeah, here's how I want to use you. Here's how I think you'd fit in with our locker room. Here's how I think you're going to work out on the field. Here's why we're interested in you statistically and what you do well, and probably not statistically because Rob Thomson doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to read someone their ERA. But, or hey, I like that you do this. I like that you do that. I think that would work well here. Consider Philadelphia. And listen, I manage this team to the World Series. I can do even better with you as a part of the squad. So I thought that was a fun, very on-brand Rob Thomson story about him taking a Zoom into Tim Hortons parking lot up there in Canada. And it's very everyman, the salt of the earth type thing, which I think Rob Thomson very much embodies. It's just who he is. I don't think it's an act. I don't think it's a coincidence. No, I legitimately think that's just the type of guy that Rob Thomson is. And I think that's why people love to play for him here in his short time as the manager and even interim manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. But it got me thinking for a question, right? Who's the figurehead of the Philadelphia Phillies free agent push? Rob Thomson's clearly on Zooms with these guys, so he's face-to-face communicating. I know for a fact Dave Dombrowski is face-to-face communicating with these guys. John Middleton probably later in the process will be. I'd be surprised if he was just making outright calls to free agents, but maybe he is. And then there's a player as well. So I've got 4 guys that I really look at as like, maybe not the figurehead, but there's 4 people on the Philadelphia Phillies free agent Mount Rushmore. They each have their own set of skills, much like Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and Roosevelt. Those are the four, right? Yeah, gotta be. Yeah, I think those are the four on Mount Rushmore. Who's on Mount Rushmore? Let me know in the comments. I'm actually going to have to Google that here in a second, so I'll let you know later in the episode. But who are the four for the Philadelphia Phillies? Well, Thomson is certainly on there. Rob Thomson, manager. We know that already. Dave Dombrowski, also definitely on there. He's the one working on the contracts and talking to these guys initially and all of that stuff. John Middleton is absolutely on there. And then Bryce Harper, I believe, is on there as well. How do all of those guys fit, and how do they all work together? And how do they basically combine to be the Mount Rushmore of reasons why, or people who would try to convince you to come to the Philadelphia Phillies? Well, starting with Thomson, we kind of already talked about it. He's the guy that manages the team. He makes the playing decisions. He talks to these guys about how they're actually going to fit in on the field, why a player could be great there, what the player does so well and why they're interested in him, how he fits in the culture of the locker room, who he's potentially replacing or going to have to play with or be in a platoon with or follow up in the bullpen. All of these things are all very much Rob Thomson questions, and that's his role in the free agent process. Dave Dombrowski, dealing with the terms of the contract, dealing with the agents, dealing with the, hey, how much money do you want to get paid? Can I convince you to come here? This is how you fit into our long-term plans. Financially, this is what we'll be able to do for you. This is what the organization's culture is, all of that stuff. John Middleton, a little less forward-facing. He's the owner. He's the guy that's more communicating through Dave Dombrowski to everybody else involved, but he's still an important part of it. He's going to cut the check. He might fly him out on the private jet. He might have a conversation over dinner with the serious free agent like Trey Turner that the Phillies are looking to sign. He's the closer. He's the guy that comes in to say, listen, I know Dave Dombrowski has made you all these promises. I know you've talked to Rob Thomson about how you fit in with this team. Let me show you some cold, hard cash and tell you that it's actually a reality that we want you, and I can make this happen with snapping my fingers. You just say the word that you want to be here. So he's the closer. And then you have, well, the confidant. And Rob Thomson is somewhat like that as well, but it's your manager. You can't tell everything to your manager. Sometimes you got to talk to the leader in the clubhouse, that guy that everybody wants to play with. That's Bryce Harper. He's the big draw, right? Because say what you want about Rob Thomson, what he did, if I have a choice of playing for Rob Thomson or playing with Bryce Harper, there's going to be a lot of baseball players that choose playing with Bryce Harper. He's the face of the franchise on the field. And he's a guy that people want to gravitate to, especially after seeing what he did in the postseason. There's no more drawback on Bryce Harper. There's no more overrated or overpaid. In fact, he's underpaid and possibly still underrated. And guys are looking at him like a meal ticket, saying, man, that's a guy that teammates really like to play for, like to play with. Other people have gone out of their way to play with him. Re-sign in JT Realmuto's case. Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, free agents. Be surprised if you get both of those guys if Bryce Harper isn't a member of this team. Rhys Hoskins loves playing with him. Bryson Stott, happy to be up because they're roommates in spring training. And there's so many guys that love being a part of this team because of what Bryce Harper means to them. So he's talking to people, I'm sure. Trey Turner will call and be like, yo, man, we had a great time in Washington. We're boys. You think Philly's the right place for me? You really think that's it? How fun would it be to play with each other again? Yeah, I know. World Series, man, wouldn't that be awesome? And I know how much the World Series meant when you were in Washington, Trey, but this fan base, it'll matter even more here in Philly. Come here. They care more than Dodgers fans. They care more than Nationals fans. Come hang out with me in Philadelphia. You could be saying the same thing to relievers. Hey, man, you don't want me to go yard off you in an NLCS. Why don't you come here so you only have to see me in spring training and inter squads? So I think Bryce Harper factors in really well as the relatable confidant that you could talk to about what it's really like to be here and why it's fun to play with a player like Bryce Harper. So that's the Mount Rushmore, if you will, of the Philadelphia Phillies free agent attack as I see it. Maybe it's not totally as I've represented it there, but that's my perspective based on the Rob Thomson, Tim Horton's Zoom calls, what I know of Dave Dombrowski as a GM, what I know of John Middleton as an owner, and what I know of Bryce Harper as a player and recruiter. So it's a good setup. And I think of those four guys, there's not a weak spot in the bunch. that wouldn't convince somebody to come to Philadelphia. So they've got a good group together of people recruiting the best possible free agents at the best possible prices to come in here and wear red pinstripes for the 2023 World Series push. Now, coming up next, I want to talk about some interesting free agent news that doesn't have to deal with the Philadelphia Phillies, but it sets the blueprint for the offseason for everybody, not just the Phillies, not just the NL East, not just the National League. Nope, Major League Baseball in general. And there's only one free agent who could really put that into motion. I think you know who. But we'll talk about him, the report, and what it means for the Phillies coming up next on the next segment of Locked On Phillies. First, though, I got to tell you about my friends over at Bet Online, because betonline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, analysis, all that great stuff. You get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. You got football, you got basketball, you got soccer, USA, round of 16, Saturday morning against the Netherlands. It's going to be awesome. Check out the odds there. Esports as well. They've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. Listen, they're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action, because BetOnline is where the game starts. Okay, we're going back to our old friend John Morosi again. And an interesting report on MLB Network. He's really churning out the news the past couple of days, and it sounds like the hot stove may be heating up. Well, because of this man. No, not John. Because of the guy he was talking about in a clip from an hour ago today that was discussed on the MLB Network hot stove. So, I'll read you the tweet. You don't have to go into the video because it's not Philadelphia Phillies specific, but here it is. It says, update, : Aaron Judge's free agent decision could come within the week. And there's more, like we discussed on MLB Network and the link to the video, all that stuff. Judge could sign within the week? This has been such a quiet free agency period. Now all of a sudden you're telling me that the most desired free agent could possibly be off the board, what, by Sunday? What does within the week mean? 7 days from now? That's irrelevant. If Aaron Judge signs soon, man, I look really smart for what I was talking about yesterday. Because yesterday, before that report came out, I said, man, if Trey Turner's having these conversations and already has interest in the Phillies and they have interest in him and they're seen as the biggest landing spot, they could do this quickly. And I lean more towards the Phillies having the opportunity to, the money to, the desire to. All of that stuff leads to that potentially happening quicker than we thought. But if Aaron Judge signs early, here's the thing. Remember back to the Manny Machado, Bryce Harper year where they were going back and forth, and really it was those two big free agents. Those were the hallmark guys of where are they going to go. And it was the dueling, waiting for each other to sign, taking all these calls. They didn't end up signing until, February? Yeah, it was late in the, I almost said postseason, late in the off season for those guys to make their decision. Well, what happens if Aaron Judge signs tomorrow with, I don't know, the Cleveland Guardians, the Seattle Mariners, the Dodgers, who knows? Send him to a random team, have him sign tomorrow, have him get a huge contract, and have that all inked out in deal. Well, what happens is now everybody else who's a top-tier free agent, they have their benchmark. They say, hey, we have a frame of reference for a top-level guy. This is what Aaron Judge got paid. This could be the biggest contract in the history of the sport. This could be, and I know he's a little bit older, so it may not be the biggest, but it probably should be after this season. I'm not going to 100% say Aaron Judge is going to get the biggest contract in the history of baseball, but I lean that way. And what happens when a contract like that gets handed out? Well, the landscape of Major League Baseball shifts significantly. If the guy that Rob Thomson was on a Zoom call with in the Tim Hortons parking lot, a veteran relief pitcher that they're looking to signs, it's not shockwaves throughout baseball. It's, Phillies may signing. Now, for us, it would be exciting here on Locked On Phillies, and we'll have all the breaking news on potential Phillies signings, any moves they do make, stuff like that. But the large majority of baseball is not going to be affected by that news. The Aaron Judge signing, though, is going to change the dynamic of the league and this offseason. So the sooner it comes, the more those ripples, the ripple effect, creates more change. Let's say the Dodgers go get him. Well, now you know, one, the Dodgers don't have the money to pay Trey Turner anymore. Or, well, I guess you technically do, but they're not going to. So Trey Turner immediately is not going back. Not that we think he's going back anyway to the Dodgers, but that changes the shortstop market. Let's say Aaron Judge gets signed in general to a random team that doesn't matter, the Minnesota Twins. Who knows? Well, then you look at a contract and you see the value per year. And even if it's, I don't know, I'm going to say something crazy, like a $75 million a year contract. That I know that's nuts. But Trey Turner, who we talked about yesterday, saying he wants like $30 million. Well, now he's got a frame of reference. He's not just throwing some number out there that his agent came up with based on other contracts of elite shortstops and inflation. No, he's looking at a bona fide major league contract that was handed out to a superstar just like immediately, just now, and could say, okay, well, based on that, here's what I'm worth. You got to factor in different position changes, but we've long talked about in the shortstop market, these guys are going to wait or want to wait until one of the shortstops gets signed so that they're not getting undervalued compared to other players at their position. But Aaron Judge is the ultimate benchmark, right? He's going to get paid more than any other free agent this offseason. So if he goes, you could be a Trey Turner and look at Carlos Correa and Xander Bogaerts and Dansby Swanson and say, screw you guys. I'm going to go off of Aaron Judge and say, well, I'm worth like $32 million if he got that much, and let's sign the deal now. I don't care about the other shortstops. I want to get paid like a superstar, and obviously not that high of a level one as Judge, but basically, and I said it coming into this segment in the tease of the last segment, there's one guy who could create this huge ripple effect across this offseason and the free agent class, and he's going to at some point, and it's Aaron Judge. But it sounds like, per Morosi's most recent information, saying that he could be signed within the week, well, it sounds like that could be coming sooner rather than later, which is very, very, very interesting for the Philadelphia Phillies, for Major League Baseball, for all parties involved. Sorry, I just had to check my phone because I had an ESPN update, and I was like, what if Judge got signed in the middle of me recording this segment about how it could be coming soon and that report and everything? That would be wild. I wanted to look up something else too that I brought up in the first segment, and now I totally forgot. See, I'm the worst, and you guys are probably screaming it at your phone or your computer right now, saying you were going to look up this. Not only did I not know what it was, now I don't know what I was supposed to look up. This is great podcasting, by the way. My brain's broken. I'm too zoned in on the offseason being flipped on its head by an early Aaron Judge signing. And I thought Judge could potentially hold out and wait, I don't know, January, February, a la Machado and Harper. But it sounds like he's got some interest from a team somewhere, and maybe he'll end up signing. We'll do a really, really quick segment here, too, a segment within a segment. Is there a chance that the team that's getting close to signing Aaron Judge is the Philadelphia Phillies? No, it's not. It's absolutely not. No chance. Not going to happen. I don't want to see any comments that Aaron Judge is coming here. I don't want to see any questions. Well, why can't Aaron Judge come? Aaron Judge is not going to be playing in red pinstripes. I also don't think he's going to be playing in blue pinstripes, but that's a different conversation. That's much more likely that one could happen. He's not going to be a member of the Phillies. So we're not really worried about where Judge signs, unless it's the Braves or the Mets or something like that. But I haven't heard any reports that they're near the top of his list. So we'll see. You hope it's an American League team, so you don't have to see him very often in the National League. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The thing that's most interesting to me is that Aaron Judge could potentially be signed soon, and that is the spark. He's like about World War II, right? World War II? No, World War I. World War I was Franz Ferdinand, where the Franz Ferdinand assassination set off this chain of events that started World War I. Yeah, Aaron Judge is the Franz Ferdinand of this offseason. He's the powder keg. He's the spark. I've snapped like 7 times this episode. I keep snapping. I don't know why. But when he signs, it'll create more movement around baseball. And the sooner that happens, the sooner we'll probably get big Phillies news. So just a little update on one of the biggest free agent available right now in baseball and how he could affect the Phillies even if he doesn't sign here, which he's not going to. All right. Those are a fun couple of segments. Coming up, though, it's December 1st. So you know what time it is. It's time for you to open your first Phillies Advent calendar. I'll give you the hint coming up. and talk you through basically the clue and set everything up for those who aren't familiar with this segment that we're introducing. I'll tell you all about it next as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. Okay, so I brought this up yesterday as something we're going to start doing. And it's called the Philadelphia Phillies Advent Calendar. So you know what an Advent Calendar is, right? It's like this big box, right? It's thin. It's like yay thin, but it's a box and it's got like numbers on it, like a calendar. And what you're supposed to do is leading up to Christmas, there's 24 or 25 boxes, I guess. And every day, as you near closer to the holiday, you open the next box. And there's like a little piece of chocolate in there. I saw an Instagram story where this girl got one that had little treats for her dog. Well, we're doing a Phillies Advent Calendar. So the fun is the surprise of what's inside. I'm going to give you a clue each day. And then the next episode's Advent Calendar, I'll tell you who the player was for yesterday's, and I'll give you the clue for the next one. I want you to chime in on the comments on YouTube. Tweet it at me at Connor Thomas 975 or at our account at LO_Phillies when you get it. And you'll be able to enjoy the holiday season as we give you some Phillies trivia Advent Calendar style. So the first one I'm starting with, and these are just, I'm pulling these out willy-nilly. This is just the first Philly that came to my head, honestly, when I was thinking, who's someone who'd be good for trivia on. And it was not like easy, but not all that hard. And maybe I'll give you guys some really hard ones depending on how you do on the first couple ones. We'll see. We got to feel it out. But here's the clue for your first Philadelphia Phillies Advent Calendar player. And these are all players that they don't have to currently be playing for the Philadelphia Phillies. They might be, but they're Philadelphia Phillies players, either current or former. And you guess it based on the clue. The first one. Now, you may know this former Philadelphia Philly best by him being a two-time Rule 5 draft selection. But what you may not know about him, growing up, he actually was, well, and I guess still has achieved, so because I guess you're always one, he's an Eagle Scout. Achieved the rank of Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts of America organization. So two-time Rule 5 draft pick, also an Eagle Scout, a very, very accomplished person. And very accomplished both on and off the field. So that's your hint for the first day of the Phillies Advent Calendar. If you got it, jump in the comments. Tell me who you think it is. Tweet me at Connor Thomas 975. Tweet us at LO_Phillies. Do all that fun stuff. And tomorrow in the Advent Calendar segment, the last segment of tomorrow's episode, we will have the reveal of who that player is. That's all my time for today's episode. It was a fun one with some interesting free agent news. Seems like the offseason's heating up as the weather cools down. So we'll have all the latest breaking news for you here on Locked On Phillies. And I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Now make your second listen another home for breaking news. Locked On Sports Today. All the biggest news from around sports of the day, up to date, broken down in just beautiful fashion so you can consume the biggest stories of the day around sports. They're available on YouTube, the Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcast, just like us here on Locked On Phillies. So go ahead and check them out and make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing on our YouTube. Subscriber count's going way up, so appreciate all the new folks checking in. Continue to do so you don't miss any of the Advent Calendar days, any big news, and any of the great content we're putting out over the offseason for the Philadelphia Phillies here on Locked On Phillies. That's all my time for today, as I said, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.